Today's First Alert afternoon weather update is brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.
Everybody, First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips joining you on this Tuesday afternoon. We have yet another beautiful day here in mid-Michigan, so hopefully you've been able to get outside and enjoy all the sunshine that we have. Today we are going to be highlighting and giving you an update on Hurricane Melissa as that has just made landfall in Jamaica. We'll talk about how it has still made some changes to our local forecast and what that means for your plans here later this week. We'll also be kind of previewing that trick-or-treating forecast because I know a lot of you are going to be taking the kids out there Friday night, so we will have a look at what you can expect and if there's any changes in that part of the forecast. Those are kind of the big topics that we're going to be covering here today at our First Alert desk. I want to start out though with this look outside. Here we are at CMU on campus. You'll find that we do still have some fall colors, not just that solid green look that we typically have here during the summer season, but we also are going to find that a lot of these trees are starting to drop their leaves. So we are going to have a few more of those raking days ahead of us, which is pretty common here as we go into November. It always kind of feels like right after Halloween, we put our costumes away and we get those rakes back out. So we are going to be, of course, kind of cleaning up here. I actually do have a raking forecast to share with everybody, kind of pulling that up. Still today and tomorrow are going to kind of be good days for doing that. Over the weekend, maybe a little bit trickier because I will have some lake effect to First Alert YouTube. But for the raking chances, you will find that maybe the wind might be a little bit troublesome today and yet tomorrow still. But overall, at least the ground conditions are dry. So as you're raking, you're not really having to clean up a lot of the water and having them kind of stick to the grass. And no new rain, that doesn't come into the forecast until Thursday. And even that's the big system that we're watching because we have updates regarding its path and where it's going. So we'll still find that we have breezy conditions here for the next couple of days. But really today, tomorrow, take advantage of the daylight that you have to get those leaves cleaned up because we will find Thursday's kind of the beginning where we, for some of us, are going to have some damp grounds that we'll have to clean up the leaves on. And even through the weekend, I do still have some lake effect to First Alert you too. I do also want to highlight where we are sitting as far as our fall color goes because we're kind of done for some of us seeing that. So you will find that that brown color means that we're past peak. So that's across the UP. That's also into parts of northern lower. So we're losing some of that fall color already. And that's pretty common here at the end of October. If you are looking to maybe get a little more fall color, maybe around the Metro Detroit area, that's going to kind of be the best chance. It's where we still see a little sliver of orange and even seeing that along 75 down towards the state line. And so that would be even extending into Wayne, Washtenaw, Monroe counties further south. So if you're looking for some color, far southeast Michigan is going to kind of be your best chance at maybe picking up some color. So you can still see, though, that we do have some peaks. So enjoy the colors that we have. As I mentioned, that view there in Central, definitely a nice view, but maybe not as vivid as what we would have hoped for on some of our other camera views. So we kind of did the fall update, but let's take another check outside because our temperature, we are finding those into the mid 50s. We're currently at 57 in Cairo, Marlette, and Saginaw. We have 56 in Flint and at MBS Airport. We're at 57 for Gladwin, Standish, and Midland. 55 currently in Houghton Lake and in Alma. 56 there in Mount Pleasant, and we're at 54 in Oscoda. So a lot of us easily making it into the 50s today. That sunshine, of course, a big help considering we have had those easterly winds that have been allowing for us to be looking at conditions that are a little bit maybe cooler for some spots, but it hasn't really been too troublesome for us. Now, of course, it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, so if you do have your chance to pick up the kids from school today, you're going to be meeting them at the bus stop drop-off, you will find plenty of sunshine while you're there. So take your ball cap and your sunglasses while you're waiting for the bus to come around the corner to drop the kids off. We will find that our temperatures are still going to be right around that 55, 56, 57 degree zone. And it will be breezy at times with that easterly wind around 10 to 15 miles per hour. But overall, a pretty pleasant afternoon. If you're able to even go get a couple of steps in while you're waiting for the kids to get off the bus, it's a beautiful afternoon for that. Now, we will find that we do still have dry weather for Wednesday, but the cloud cover, that is going to start to roll in our forecast because we do have those rain chances. That system starts to roll in as we go into Thursday. So really kind of Wednesday is our transition day. We're not seeing as bright of conditions. It still will be dry. So it's kind of that middle of the road in between the two. We'll still see that we have the cloud cover that's going to be here through Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So that's just going to be something that we have to be monitoring as we go into the weekend, especially if you have some plans or for Halloween. So we do still have that rain update. We also are going to be talking about the hurricane. I have some exciting video. The hurricane hunters, they were flying out there. So we are going to take a look at those conditions coming up in just a real quick break. That's only going to last for about 60 seconds, so stay with us. Welcome back. We are going to be highlighting the hurricane, and I do have some live satellite video here. So this is going to be the hurricane that is making landfall currently in Jamaica. You can see that eye quickly coming in. I do want to zoom in because that eye structure has been pretty pronounced here in this hurricane, but what's very interesting to see, and as expected, we start to see that wall or that eye wall weaken. That's pretty common as it comes inland because we are going to find that, of course, it's not over those hot, warm waters that are able to support these storms, so we are going to see that it does weaken. However, with it continuing to head further north and east, with it coming across Jamaica, it will be able to get back into some hot and warm waters. So though we do anticipate it to kind of decrease in strength, we are going to find that it is still going to be a major hurricane for at least the next day or so. So Hurricane Melissa, we are finding that it is moving through Jamaica currently at this time. It is still a Category 5 hurricane because of those winds that are around 165 miles per hour, but the gusts, check those out, 120 miles per hour. Now that pressure did drop down to about 899 millibars, but what really was interesting is that during the night we saw that pressure continue to drop, and so as the pressure drops, actually the strength increases. So the lower that pressure number, the stronger the storm. So that's what we are seeing with this one. Even though it was a Category 5 hurricane, this is definitely one of the strongest ones that we have seen in the Atlantic. And of course, folks in Jamaica, they are very much used to tropical systems, but this storm just itself being a major hurricane, of course, we anticipate seeing impacts for a lot of those communities there. So of course, we'll be watching to see how those impacts and even how the preparations have been going. Now, I do have some interesting video that has been shared. So here's another satellite image that NOAA was able to collect. So this is kind of a fun video here to see just kind of it rotating. Of course, this is a time lapse from this. So we are gonna find that this allows us to get a pretty good look at the eye wall there of Hurricane Melissa. So of course that is a Category 5. We'll watch to see how well it survives kind of moving inland. Of course, it's not moving all that fast. We're only seeing it move around 8 miles per hour or so. But of course, this storm is expected to affect about 1.5 million people in Jamaica. So of course, they do have a lot of those services that are ready to go and to help folks that are going to be in need as this comes through. So this is just kind of the interesting satellite video, but here is from the Hurricane Hunter. So this is going to be from the United States Air Force Reserve crew. They were out there on a mission, and they of course kind of fly through these storms. Definitely braver than what I would be doing this, that is for sure, but definitely an interesting sight here to see in the wall. So they actually did this fly through yesterday, so this is just a tad old video that they did release, but they said that the crews did make multiple passes through the storm. And the reason that we do fly, or the hurricane hunters do fly through these storms, is that they have sensors that are on the planes, and then we can go and take that data, we can put it into the weather models, and then we can have a better look at the conditions and what we're expecting. We can go and make a better forecast by collecting that data. So just having even some simple observations make a really big difference when we're talking forecasting and going forward. So it really allows a lot of meteorologists and scientists to make some good decisions. Of course, this is a pretty critical situation with how strong this hurricane has been. So it allows the National Hurricane Center to be keeping a strong forecast going out here as we watch the storm continue to head towards the northeast. But just definitely interesting. Of course, a lot of you already know in the eye wall, it's typically kind of that calm. So you have just kind of this clearing where you can see clearly through the eye. The turbulence, though, they did mention, of course, that it was definitely some stronger forces than normal due to the turbulence inside this mission. So they did, of course, make it back safely. We appreciate this video because I'm going to scrub ahead here a little bit just of them kind of flying around so you can see them making, some turns and even kind of flying through, getting the cross section of the hurricane to get that data. So as I had mentioned, these are some pretty brave folks. Of course, it's great science for us to have here, but it's always amazing to kind of see these videos in the eye wall because you do this a little bit faster because they collected about 3 minutes worth of video. But I can't imagine, I'm sure it was a bumpy ride for folks who were on that flight. So then our next video, once this wraps up here, is going to just kind of see some of the impacts that they are seeing in Jamaica. Actually, let me bring this up. All right, there it is. So we are going to find that some of these images and kind of the video that we're seeing here. So this is actually around Kingston Harbor. So heavy rains and intense winds, those have already been battering Jamaica. And so now that the storm is making landfall, we're really kind of seeing that quadrant where we have our strongest winds and, of course, the rain. And also we'll be watching for storm surge in this area as well. But you can definitely see that it's stirring up the waters pretty easily. This Category 5 storm, it may potentially, we'll be watching to see how this measures out as far as the potential of its strength and how that sits in the record books. But it's definitely going to leave an impact. Of course, you can see that water, even the tree there on the left-hand side, just kind of getting some of that air coming through. So of course, they are going to be watching for this. Now, the storm itself has already been blamed for 3 deaths in Jamaica, 3 in Haiti, and then 1 in the Dominican Republic. Of course, this is just making landfall here now. So we are going to be hoping and sending some positive thoughts for folks who are going to be watching the hurricane. So definitely some interesting video. I know it's always kind of fun to see the hurricane hunters as they fly through. As I mentioned, I'm definitely not brave enough for it. So I'm glad that we have other scientists that are ready. Now, I do also want to provide an update on the hurricane because yesterday I was showing kind of our spaghetti plot. So we have all these lines or noodles coming out. And I even had some folks in our station going, hey, I was thinking about going to Florida. What about that one model? Well, that model was potentially grabbing on something that was not necessarily modeled correctly. So it may be taking one element and putting a little more weight on that to pull it in that direction. But you'll see it has now started to kind of step in line with everybody else and having that path going out into the northeast towards the water. So we will find that, of course, this is still going to be something that's going to be bothering our local systems coming through. It can slow down the atmosphere as well. The other thing that we have noticed is that when we're looking long term, even getting into next week's forecast, a lot of the models are struggling. We're seeing a lot of variation through them. And really what is happening is that they're struggling to grab and kind of understand how this hurricane is going to be moving through the Atlantic, because the flow, the atmosphere is kind of like a big pool. So as you're kind of moving through, everything kind of moves and can bother one another. So that's going to be something that we're watching for, but at least you can kind of see everything is kind of headed into that northeast direction with landfall in the United States not expected. But even kind of as we zoom in here, you will see some of those outer bands are going to get pretty close towards the southern tip of Florida. So we may find that we still have some storms. If you're going to be maybe going to like the Miami area, you may still find that you have some of these outer bands of the storm that is going to be sliding through. Now, I do want to go and show you our hour-by-hour forecast. I have it zoomed out here just because there's not a lot happening locally. But as we go forward in time, we have this system that's building around St. Louis, coming in towards the southern portions of Illinois into Kentucky, Tennessee. So that system starts to get organized. You'll see kind of that blob of green that's towards our south. This continues to pivot around us as we are finding that we have just a little bit of protection here. But we are going to see that it gets close to us going into Thursday morning. One thing that we have noticed is that this system has continued to inch eastward and eastward and eastward. And we really anticipate that to be because of the hurricane. So you'll find through the day, we'll at least plan for sure on some cloud cover. We may see some sunshine further west, but I do have the hurricane that kind of continues to come through here. So you can see that into the later parts of the data. So that with the hurricane coming up across the Atlantic just towards our east, that's able to take some energy, momentum, vorticity, and it's kind of able to suck that from that other low pressure system. And that's why we are starting to see it to be on the more eastward side. So if you are into the thumb, I would definitely plan on seeing some rainfall on Thursday. The one thing that we have noticed is that some models are completely dry. So we do just have that 20% chance in, mainly for rainfall into the thumb. You may find, though, that the further west you are, especially along 127 or central Michigan, that you see some sunshine on Thursday. So you will have the chance at least of a couple of breaks in the cloud cover, but overall we are going to find better rain chances towards the east and then better sunshine chances further west here in mid-Michigan. But of course, we're watching this hurricane closely. If that moves just a couple of miles, that can really change then just a couple of mile difference for us on where this this low pressure system locally is going to be. Another thing that I want to also point out is that with this organized system you can see out in the northeast, that's rotating counterclockwise, so backwards from the clock. And is what that's doing is it's going to start to bring in some cooler air for us. So that's why we are going to find lake effect in our forecast for many of the days to come, because the waters are still pretty mild in the Great Lakes, but that air quite a bit cooler since we're seeing that coming in from Canada. So we are headed into lake effect season. I will kind of jump up here and show us our chances. So as I had mentioned, Thursday, we did drop that down to a 20% just because the coverage isn't really here for everybody in mid-Michigan. So that's kind of that big change that we're seeing because of the hurricane, is that it is dropping our rain chances for Thursday. And then going into Friday and Saturday, that's where we see the better lake effect chance. So that's what we're going to be kind of keeping an eye to, that spotty nature in the rain and kind of that being a little bit broken here. As I continue to also take a look at what else we have left, of course we have the rainfall for the weekend, but I do also want to take another quick break because we do have to still preview that Halloween forecast. So I'm going to get all of that set up here. We'll have a couple of reminders. We'll be back in about 1 minute. All right, we are in the final stretch of our forecast. So as promised, that preview of what you can expect going into Halloween. We are still looking at temperatures into the 40s. We may be able to bring that number back up into the upper 40s, but it is going to be at least mid to upper 40s for trick-or-treat time frames. Of course, some of those timings do change a little bit, but you also can get a full list of some of those times at WNEM.com. We have a full list of trick-or-treating times across mid-Michigan. So of course, if you're a little bit earlier, a little bit later, of course, you'll have some temperature variation, but right now we are planning on 40s. We will have a northeast wind, so that'll keep it a little bit cooler for us. We will find that we have then the lake effect as well, so that wind kind of keeping it that brisk feeling, but also bringing just some isolated showers. The whole idea with lake effect, though, is that it's not continual. We have some breaks in between, so as you're going house to house, you may find, oh, we're kind of caught here with some rain, and then we have a little bit of a break. So if you are going to go trick-or-treating, I would at least have the rain jackets. I would probably have the umbrellas to be sure, and I'd also have some waterproof shoes, whether it's rain boots or if you just have those fancy sneakers. Make sure that you are kind of prepared for some wet weather while you are out there, just so that you're comfortable while you're going. Now, we are going to at least keep just the lake effect chance in, so at least it's not widespread. Also, though, happening this weekend is going to be the time change. I know we talked about this yesterday, but just a quick reminder that it is happening this weekend, so don't forget to kind of turn those clocks ahead before you go to bed so that you don't have to wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you can get that extra hour of sleep and really enjoy it and take advantage of it. But this is also a good time to check furnace filters, check your smoke alarms, check your carbon monoxide detectors, make sure that everything is up and running and that those batteries haven't died since the springtime change. So this is just kind of a good way to where we always have that checkup. You will find that our sunrise time on Sunday morning is going to be at 7:12 a.m. So we've been seeing that a little bit closer towards about 8 o'clock nowadays. Actually, this morning our sunrise was at 8:06. So we are going to find that we shift that hour earlier into the day. And then our sunset time is going to be around 5:25. Today's sunset is at 6:32, so we'll still lose a few more minutes, but we are going to find that we do, of course, shift that daylight an hour earlier into the day. Also, earlier this morning, First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro, he was talking about some of the time change items and also kind of explaining how much time yet that we still have to lose until we get into December. So you can catch his version of the live stream at our WNEM YouTube and Facebook pages. That's going to be where you can rewatch that. Of course, you can also join him at 10:30 in the morning. Now, a final checkup here for tonight is that our low temperatures are still going to be a little bit cooler. Typical lows right now should be around about 38 degrees. So we are going to see that we're at least a little bit closer, just a few degrees below that into the mid 30s. I know it's been pretty chilly, some frost here the last couple of mornings. So make sure that you're giving yourself some extra time to clean off the windshield, be road ready. Do more than just that little circle that you do and kind of peek through it. Don't do that. Give yourself the extra time and get everything cleared off. But just also be prepared. It's extra blankets and maybe some fuzzy socks when you go to bed here for the rest of the season, because we are going to find cooler air coming in. Highs typically in the next 7 days are going to be staying in the low to mid 50s, but they do drop into the 40s as we go into Saturday and Sunday. So that cooler air bringing us the lake effect, still going to be bringing us a chance for some cooler conditions. Overnight lows also do stay into the mid to upper 30s. Now we do have the chance on Thursday where we have the rain towards the east into the thumb, and then the chance for some sunshine further west. So it's very much going to vary where you're hanging out on Thursday and the type of weather that you're going to be seeing. But then the lake effect sets up for us going into Friday, Saturday. So we'll keep that in mind if we're going to high school football games. Between trick-or-treating and high school football, we are going to find that we want everybody with the rain gear, but just know it's going to kind of be on and off. That would be a great time to check the First Alert weather app. So if you don't have it, I have the QR code right here on your screen that you can give that a scan and make sure that's downloaded. And then going into the weekend, still some lake effect chances. It seems to be drying up a little bit. We've noticed a slight change kind of going into that Sunday, Monday time frame. But we'll really be watching that area closely because that's when the hurricane's also going to be playing with the data a little bit further out. So we'll be watching that for you. So, of course, stay updated here on our live streams. Of course, you can watch them at 2 o'clock, or you can also catch them now at 10:30 in the morning as well. And you can also get those updates on the First Alert weather app. So make sure you have that app. It is free to download from the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. Of course, if you want to rewatch this, you can do that at WNEM.com and on the WNEM WNEM Facebook and YouTube. Sadly, our WNEM.com live stream is typically kind of a one-time view, so you'll have to head to those other platforms to get those watches in. But as I had mentioned, and I do just want to announce this, is that First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro, he's also live streaming at 10:30 in the morning. He's going to all the same platforms that we do here at 2 o'clock. So make sure you're joining with him. If that's a little bit of an easier time frame to hang out, make sure that you're tuning in. We're all going to be kind of talking some different things, kind of what's piquing our own interest. But I'm also sure that you might have a little bit of that replay through our forecast. But then you also can stay up. If we get some new changes in, you can stay on top of it as well. But I do appreciate everybody for joining us this afternoon. We are going to be wrapping up our live stream. We'll also have on TV5 News at 4 an updated look at that 7-day forecast. So we hope to see you there. But when in doubt, we'll see you right back here at the First Alert Desk tomorrow.
Thank you for joining us. Today's stream has been brought to you by Lockhart Roofing.